Hello and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. Today is a pre-holiday show. A lot of you couldn't make it today because you're out and about buying gifts and making last-minute preparations for the festivities, which is great. I put in the hangout here the deal about Festivus. So for those of you who do not celebrate Christmas, you can always celebrate Festivus. But today I wanted to talk about a couple of things. Number one, I want to talk about bookmarks and why bookmarks are a very important part of your computer experience, if you will, and how useful they can be. And unfortunately, from seeing in a lot of my clients, they do not use bookmarks the way they could be used and do not get all the benefits associated with those. So for some of you, some of the things I'm going to say are going to be given knowledge. You already know that, and that's fine. And then perhaps some things that you don't know about yet. For those of you who have not used bookmarks much or at all, then of course everything I'm going to show you will be of use if you start using them. Bookmarks, the concept of bookmarks is fairly simple, and that is if you're trying to remember, it's just like the bookmarks in a book. If you're trying to remember which page in the book you were reading you need to get back to, you put in a little bookmark in there, and it's an easy way for you to get right to the page where you left off. Obviously, with digital browsers and devices, it's much easier to have a ton of them, as many as you need, and it's a good thing and also it's a bad thing. So we're going to cover both ends of it, and I'll explain why it's not necessarily the great thing to have a ton of bookmarks, even though you can. You know, it's not always good to do things just because you can. But also, I'm going to talk about management of bookmarks because it's also important in addition to what they are and how to use them. Also, the management of those is also crucially important to achieve the maximum benefits. And at the end, I'm going to talk a little bit about SpecZone, which is the IT department for your small business type service, where you can have essentially your own IT department for a fraction of a cost it would normally cost to have one of these. And then we'll wrap it up. So without further ado, let's start with bookmarks. So most of you know that bookmarking is easily achievable by going to your browser. Let me just bring up my browser here and bring up the screen. And you know, it's very easy to create a bookmark by clicking in the, I'm going to use the Chrome browser. Other browsers like Internet Explorer, Firefox have their own, and like in Internet Explorer they call them favorites. They don't call them bookmarks, but it's the same concept. Functionality is very similar in terms of what they do. So over here you can see we have a little star here on the screen in the URL in the Omni box here to the right of it, and if you click on it, then it's going to bookmark whatever the current page is, and then stick it in your bookmarks. Just stick it to the end of the list. And the reason I think a lot of people do not use bookmarks well is because initially when they start out with a new browser, they don't have anything, and they know all I have to do is just, you know, click on a star, or if you want to use a keyboard, you can press Control D, D as in dog, to do the same thing essentially, and it'll add a bookmark to the end of your bookmarks list. So people get, you know, one site bookmark, they go to somewhere else, they bookmark another website or another web page, and then it just continues. They continue with the process. Before you know it, you have 10 bookmarks, which is still totally manageable and, you know, easy to get to, and you know exactly where these pages are by just selecting a bookmark. The problem is that as you keep doing this over a certain amount of time, then these bookmarks become where it's not 10 of them, it's 50, it's 100, it's 200, and it becomes completely unmanageable. You know you bookmarked some website that you were interested in, but you know you have no clue where it is, and you know sifting through 200 bookmarks, it certainly can be challenging. And you can do a search, of course, but you're adding more and more complications. Becomes for a lot of people, you know, more work to do than they want to do. So that's the negative part about bookmarks, is that you need to be careful of how you manage them to make it work well. But to create a bookmark is super simple. You just simply hit the star or hit Control D. In addition to that, what you can do is, in the way Chrome handles it, you can have regular bookmarks, but you can also have folders full of bookmarks. So that's the way that I highly recommend how you manage all your bookmarks to make sure you don't have these huge lists and you can't find anything after a while, but you actually have logically set up certain folders based on your preferences. Don't let anybody tell you how to organize stuff. It's best to organize it based on your personal preferences. And then you stick into these folders appropriate bookmarks. So like in my case, for example, as you can see, this is the bookmarks bar. So let's talk about that for a second. So in Chrome, you can have, let me just hit a key here. You can see right now I'm looking at browser display that doesn't have any bookmarks on it at all. And if I hit Control, Shift, and B as in boy, or V as in bookmarks, then it'll come back up again. And on that bookmark bar, I can place a certain number of bookmarks. And as you can see from the display there, there's a limit of how much you can put in one line. If you put more than can fit on the line, the rest of them will be displayed on this right side in this little pull-down menu where you have a ton of other ones you can scroll from. As you can see, I have a ton of different things. But one of the things that I have, or many things that I have here, are the folders. So for example, if I'm interested in pages dealing with, now let's see, what would be a good example would be games, for example. Let's say I have a folder called games, and I have 3 games in there. So if I wanted to go to any of the bookmarks that are games related, then I would go to this folder called games and click on any one of these things that I want to open up, and it'll open it up, which is very convenient. So this way you eliminate the problem with too many things. In my case, I actually have a little bit too many things, and I could organize them a little bit better. But for the most part, I really use only the bookmarks that are right here on the visible. The other ones are like extra that were there from a long time ago, or I imported them from another browser or something. Mostly, what I need is that I'm here. And I have this one folder that I set up on the bookmarks bar called main, and it has all the main apps that I would say 80% of these things are the ones they go to all the time. So the ones that are there are in this main folder. And so if you wanted to, I can actually right-click on any of the folders that have bookmarks, and I have the following options. I can say open all bookmarks, and it'll just open them as tabs right in the same window here. I can say open all bookmarks in a new window, which is the option I would definitely recommend you use. Don't use the first one if you have a lot of bookmarks, because it's going to take a long time to open, number one. Number two, is going to be mixed in with your other tabs. So if you have a specific set, for example, called banks, where you have all your different banking accounts bookmarked, you might want to open them. You open them in a different window. When you get done working with them, you just simply close that one window, and all of these tabs are gone. So definitely that's the one I would recommend you use. And you also have an option to open all bookmarks in the incognito window, which means that it'll open up a browser session that will not have any cookies or anything. It's completely anonymous. It doesn't know who you are, and thus, because of the lack of cookies and everything else that's normally tracked, like your passwords, your accounts, things like that, the browser tracks, it'll be completely anonymous. So if you want to do that, you can also do that. That means that if you do want to go to any of the Google services, you're going to have to log in, because normally when you go, it automatically shows you the password that you're using, if that's the option you selected, to keep track of all your passwords, so you don't have to type them in every time. But if you go into incognito, you're going to have to type them in every time you go. So it's an option specifically to go into this environment being very secure, being that nothing is tracked about you, nobody has a clue who's coming. It's completely anonymous. So that's when you want to use that option. And if we look at other options available, we can also rename folders, so we can have anything we want. We can cut, copy, and paste them. So if you want to duplicate a folder and then change some things, you can easily do it by creating one, then copying, and then modifying the contents of the folder. You can also delete folders. You can add a page, which is the same as just adding a page to that particular folder, bookmarking it, in other words. And you can add a folder, and you can also select some of these checkboxes down below for some other options. But mainly, you're going to be doing, the main thing you're going to be doing here is this deal with the open all bookmarks in a new window. So in my example here, for example, if I go and let's say I have a Google Keep folder right here, and I wanted to be able to open all of these different bookmarks that are within it in a separate window, just right click on it, select open a new window, and then you can see it'll immediately launch, and it's going to immediately load every single one of these bookmarks in its own tab. So that's the beauty of it, is you're able to go in and load just the stuff you need all at the same time. So let's say you come to work every day and you want to have Gmail open or Inbox or both, and you want to have your potentially spreadsheets open, you want to have your Google Drive open, depending on what your preferences are. In my case, I don't open Sheets automatically, but I do open Drive automatically because I do a lot of stuff in Google Drive. And so any of the other websites that you normally work in, you would create a folder, you stick all the proper URLs into it, proper bookmarks in other words, and then you can just open them with this single command. Right click, select open new window, and there it is. So I have all my different Google Keep items open right there. So as you can see, normally you go to Google Keep and you only have a display that looks kind of like this, but in my case, I have all these different displays for Google Keep because they all have different meaning for me. And I'll show you in a minute specifically how to do this thing with Keep. But the idea is that you only open things that you're going to be working on. So you'd like to have them all in tabs open in one shot, so you don't have to be putting in the URLs every time and going and typing things over and over and over. You just right click, open new window, boom. Wait for a few seconds for it to load. Once they're all up, you're up and running. As simple as that. You may have, for example, a book folder called News, where you would have like CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, whatever different news organization you have that you usually frequent, and you can just open all the news tabs like that with one command, right click of a mouse basically, and then left click selection. But essentially it's like one click, we can say. So very, very convenient. So if you think about organizing your bookmarks, think about organizing them using these folders that mean something to you. And by the way, as you can see, if I pull down my main here, not only do I have bookmarks in here, but I also have folders within folders. So here's an example. Within main, I have one called stock photos. And again, on this one, I can just also say open a new window. And now it's going to go ahead and says, are you sure you want to open 15 tabs? So this particular time, I'm going to say, yes, I'm sure I'm going to open 15 tabs. And it's going to go ahead and do its thing and make the Chrome browser work quite a bit to open all these different tabs, but it's going to go ahead and do it. And so obviously, you need to be cognizant of a couple of things. Number one, if you open a lot of tabs, be aware of your memory limitations in your computer. If you don't have a lot of RAM and you open tons of tabs, you may run out of RAM, or the computer will become very, very slow, or at least slow down anyway if you have a lot of tabs open, because every tab consumes a certain amount of memory. So if you're really going to use all this stuff, then fine, go ahead and do it. But be cognizant of it. That's why Google, the Chrome browser is asking, are you sure you want to open 15 tabs? And in my case, I have enough memory, so that's not a problem. So it opens these 15 different tabs. And obviously, the more tabs you open, the more time it's going to take to open these tabs. So you have to be patient. And, but when you come in the morning, you just have your main folder, and you have your main apps that you run all the time, meaning main web apps or bookmarks that you typically open. And you just go ahead and crank it up, one click, and then have your cup of coffee. And when you get back, all the tabs will be open and ready for you to use. This is a great tool, by the way, for people who have, for example, one of my clients was a real estate company, and so they had they had different MLS services. They also had different county websites that they were frequenting. And so when they would come in, I have them set up where they have their Gmail and they have their calendar in a separate tab, and then they have their several different county-related real estate sites, their MLS site. All of this was opening for them at one time, and then they go ahead and use it because they would go to all these different websites. And so it was very, very convenient for them to use, and be using the simple approach. You just set up a folder, drop in there everything you need to drop, and you go. So in terms of dropping things in there, so that's the management part. So set up folders, organize them according to your preferences, and then start populating them with proper bookmarks. And I would recommend, if you want to have folders within folders, it's okay. Just be careful not to go too many levels deep. I don't know how many levels it actually allows you to have, but it just becomes a kind of a nuisance to say, pull down one menu and then it opens up another menu and opens up another menu, just too many things. So you want to kind of keep it to maybe 2-3 levels at tops to make it convenient and useful, and you should be able to fit within that. And then, of course, populate your bookmarks bar in your browser to have the most important thing visible to you, available to you all the time. And as you can see, there's some other things that wound up going. My main used to be on the left side because that was the main thing I was using. Now I got a bunch of other things I'm using, so they wound up by kind of moving main over to the right, but not so far where it disappears. I still use it for different things, so it's still there. So let's talk about specifically, in terms of how you create a bookmark. We already mentioned Control-D, or adding a bookmark from the menu that I showed you. But one of the things that you can also do is you can simply go to a website. So let's say we go to my PCS website, and when it comes up, if I wanted to bookmark it, all I would have to do is hit Control-D, or if I wanted to actually place the icon right here to the bookmarks bar, all I have to do is simply grab the little, what they call fav icon, or the icon next to the URL itself, to the address of the website you're going to, and you just grab it by clicking on it, and then you drag it down to the bar, and then you put it wherever you want to put it, but just it shows you this little vertical bar to indicate where you're putting it. And then if you want to leave it there, you just let go, and now it'll put the bookmark there. And of course, it gives it this long name, which is full name of my company. So what you can do then with any of these, once you drop them in there like this, but just dragging this down here, you right-click on it, and you can click on Edit. And when you click on Edit, you're given just several different possibilities. Normally, you don't deal with the stuff below, even though there is a way you can indicate in your structure of bookmarks where you want this bookmark to go. But if you already dragged it to the bookmarks bar, then it's already where you want it to go anyway. And so all you really need to do is you can change the name and change the URL. And the name, for example, in this case, I would change it to be something like PCS to make it nice and short, because again, real estate is only so much on the bookmarks bar, and leave the URL alone as it is. And then you just click on Save. So now, as you can see, I have a little bookmark here called PCS. And if I go to a new page here, new browser tab, and click on this PCS bookmark, it'll go right to my website. So the basic use of bookmarks is you bookmark websites, and then you're able to get to them by clicking on the bookmark. Most people know that anyway. But what I want to talk today about is I want to talk about the other uses of bookmarks that are not just regular websites. So let's talk about that. I have put in a bunch of different thoughts here in this little keep note. So regular website, we just said, you go to the website, you go ahead, you either hit Control-D or you drag it to where you want it to go within the folder or just in the bookmarks bar, and it's going to stick it there. You can right-click, select Edit to change the name, and leave URL alone, and that's pretty much you're done with that. So that's certainly can do that. In addition to websites, you can also deal with individual web pages. So for example, if I have my website here called PCS, it goes right to the beginning of the website, but I also have some other areas in there. For example, I have a page specifically designed, it's a page specifically set up for my spec zone information. So that's the URL. So instead of booking PCS and then clicking on something to get to spec zone, all I have to do is just get to the page I want within the website, and then I can bookmark that. And so I can go ahead and do the same thing and just grab this thing, drag it here, and I'm going to call it click zone. And now I have this other bookmark, as you can see on the bookmarks bar, right there, I call spec zone. And so now you can easily go to that particular page without actually clicking through a bunch of clicks potentially on the website to drill down to where you want to be. So you can bookmark beginning of the website. You can also bookmark any of the pages of the website as well. Okay, and very handy. So that's that. Another thing you can do is you can also bookmark specific URLs. And what I mean by that is that whenever you have websites, not websites, but whenever you have web addresses, in a lot of applications, such as web-based applications such as Gmail, Google Drive, they give you a unique URL or unique address for every, usually, piece of information. For example, on Google Drive, each document, like if I open a form or if I open a spreadsheet, it'll have its own URL, which is very, uniquely different from any other URL. So what I can do is I can actually bookmark a specific document on Google Drive, for example. And by bookmarking that document, whenever you click on that bookmark, it'll automatically open that particular document. Okay? And so the thing to understand here is that you can use any of the unique URLs that you can get to. If you can get a unique URL from any website or any web application you're going to, that means that you can bookmark that particular part of the site or the application and be able to easily get to it anytime you wish. And that was example with my notes. If you look at my my Keep notes, if you look at my folder for Google Keep, I have a couple of things. One of the things I have, I'm just going to jump to this page to show you. On my Google Keep folder, Google Keep has different colors you can use to color your notes to mean different things, right? So if you're going to have different colors, you need to know what these colors mean. Well, I can't remember all the time because there's 8 different colors what they mean, especially since Google Keep can have different setups for each Gmail account that you might have. And so in my case here, I wanted to make sure that I just simply set up a little note. And what I did in the note here, I put in the names of the colors. And these names identify to me specifically what each color represents. For example, red means it's personal family information. Orange means it's business cards. Yellow means it's credentials, so on and so forth. So I have all these 8 colors identified and indicate exactly what I'm using them for. So at any point in time they need to create a new note and I'm not sure which color category it should go under, I can just pull up this one, this note that basically I called it legend that tells me what the colors are. So now if I wanted to look at business cards, I need to look at orange, for example. So I can go here to search, click on orange, and voila. There is nothing but business cards, as you can see right there. Okay? So very handy, very convenient. And I wanted to be able to get to this note without having to search for it, without having to go to Keep, type in the word legend, and then the thing will come up, and then I see it, and then I can go to what I'm looking for. It's much easier to simply, when you're sitting, no matter which page you're sitting on, to simply go to this bookmark called Legend under Google Keep, and it comes right up. Boom, there it is. I have another setup that I use for to-do notes, and I'm using the blue color to indicate that it's a to-do note for different businesses, different clients, different people, so you can see all these blue. So this is nothing more than a search for blue notes, because that's all my to-do list. I mean, all my different to-do lists for different entities. And so to get to all my to-dos, all I have to do is just simply make that selection. And then, of course, I have business cards. If I, because I use them so much, I don't just go to Legend to say, okay, I need to go to Orange. Or what I can also do is I can simply click on this business cards bookmark, and it'll open up in a second here. Come on. Anyway, it's still thinking. It'll open up the business cards here shortly. For some reason, the browser is thinking here hard. Speaking of running out of memory, maybe I did a little too much here. But anyway, let's just keep going on. The idea is it does come up, and shows that. And then, anything related to, for example, my son's school, click on December K-12, and there's all the notes matching that, including the ones that are archived and regular notes. So it's a very easy way to take any Google Keep search, whatever page you may be on, whatever search you're looking for, because Google Keep has its own unique URLs for each of those selections. Once you get to that selection and you want to be able to get to it easily, simply bookmark when you're sitting there, bookmark it, and then you can get back to it anytime. And you can organize them all under Google Keep folder, for example. Or if it makes sense to put in another folder, put in another folder. Not a problem. But the idea is that if you have a unique URL with any application, that's the key thing, any application, then you can go ahead and easily utilize bookmarks to jump right to that point at any point in time. Another example, for example, is Gmails. When you're looking at the individual emails, you're able to go directly to a particular email by simply bookmarking. When you have it up, bookmark that URL, and then if you have some emails that mean something special in terms of their labels, or a particular email that you want to bookmark for whatever reason, it doesn't really matter. All emails have unique URLs, and you can do a search for a label, for example, which also gives the unique URL, and then you can just pull up all of those by simply clicking on the bookmark. You can, in Gmail, you can also have what they call quick list, which allows you to set up a similar capability from within Gmail. But this way you can actually have various bookmarks in various folders, or you can just have a folder called Gmail, and all the important emails you want to be able to get to are bookmarked right there, and you can get to them anytime by simply selecting the bookmark from the folder. So very convenient, very handy. So you probably want to see a quick example, so I'm going to go ahead and go to Gmail real quick just to show you how the thing works. So everything is done hands-on here. And so Gmail comes up, and once it loads here, then I can, for example, click on, I don't know, some kind of email here. And notice when I click on it, it comes up. Just one second. Everything is loading, so it's taking a little while here. Okay. Anyway, we'll continue. It's just taking too long here, so I don't want to wait. The idea is you can, basically bookmark. As long as you have a unique URL, you can bookmark individual pages. That's what I'm trying to get to. Like, for example, you have a specific label. You go to select that selection with that label, and then when it comes up, you go ahead and grab that URL, and you drop it directly into a bookmark. Same thing with Google Drive. I already mentioned that, Google Drive, you go to Google Drive, you can go to Google Drive. Drive will come up, and then you take, for example, let's say you wanted to be able to go right to a particular document. So let's just select something that's starred, and let's pull something simple, something like that. So I'm pulling up this particular spreadsheet, and it comes up, and if I simply click on the URL, hit Control-C, it gives me, I can copy it and I can put it wherever I want, but also I don't have to even select it in terms of copying it. I just have to simply drag it to wherever I want it to be. So in my case, I'm going to put it under my main right in the beginning. I'll get rid of it later. And you can see it says email verified Google Sheets right there. So if I close it, and I'll go back to this particular bookmark, as you can see, it opens it right up. Okay, so you can have as many of these important sheets as you want, and again, spread them whatever makes sense to you where they need to be. But the idea is you can get directly to it with a single click. Okay, so that's Google Drive. Same thing with Google Keep. I already mentioned, I got a couple of Google Keep things. So with Keep, what's happening is if you go, for example, and you select a particular deal like come on, there we go. So as it's opening here, it should come up with my business cards, and that's because of the particular selection, particular search. And it doesn't look like I set it up right, or it's not loading still. Okay, it's still thinking here. Typically, if you don't have a lot of stuff open and you do have a fairly decent amount of RAM, it's just because the Hangout, it slows kind of everything down when you do Hangouts. Okay, I don't want to wait for it any longer. We'll just let it load, and then after that, we'll come back to it. But the idea is you can have the individual labels or individual notes. All of them have a specific search criteria. You can keep all of these have unique URLs. All you have to do is just simply do the search, come up with the criteria on the screen, and then you bookmark it, and then you're done. Now from that point on, you can get it directly to it by just selecting the that particular bookmark. Also, you can do the same thing with photos. In terms of, I'm sorry, not photos, but different web apps, such as Photos, Drive, Calendar. All of those have, if they have a unique URL, then you can definitely bookmark it and then be able to get back to it and see that particular information. One of the very useful things that you can do in terms of getting to specific apps that are web-based apps is to go and put them directly on the bookmark bar here. So if you look at let's do this example of Google Keep before we move on. So if I click on the orange, so I do a search, I do click on orange, there's my business cards. So if I take this URL and I drop it into my Google Keep folder here, and I'm going to call it business cards. I think the one I set up was screwed up. Then I'm going to go ahead and rename it because it makes them all Google Keep to be biz cards. Let's go with that. Then what's happening here is get rid of the business cards because that was not set up right. So I have one called biz card. So let's go ahead and close the window so I don't have that open. And then if I go here to Google Keep and select biz cards, then it should come right up and show me nothing but business cards in orange. Yep, and there it goes. Still loading. There we go. Okay, so then it loads, and you can see all the business cards in orange with the selection there. So just wanted to show you that part. And then one of the other things that I wanted to talk about is that you can start all the different web apps directly from the bookmarks bar here. So for example, if I wanted to start Inbox, if I wanted to start email, if I wanted to start Calendar, all of these are right here. As you can see, these little icons. And you can start all of them directly from with a single click. So if I wanted to start, for example, Gmail, I just simply click on that, and it'll start it right up in the current tab. If you don't want it to start in current tab, if you want to start in the new tab, you would simply hit Control key and hold it down when you make the click. And that'll automatically stick it in the new tab. So that's how that part works. And you know, if I wanted to click on, for example, well, you get the idea. If I wanted to click on spreadsheets, just click on Control. That drops it into a new tab there, and comes up with a spreadsheets interface right there. So all of these Google apps basically, and you can have any, doesn't have to be Google, could be something else. I got, in my case, I have, Inbox, I have Gmail, I have Calendar, Drive, Spreadsheets, Google Plus, Photos, Note, and some other stuff here. So those are kind of the main things that go to all the time. And then you notice that these particular icons here don't have any text next to them. And the reason I did that is I wanted to conserve as much real estate as I could, because otherwise you really run out of room really quickly on the bookmarks bar. And at the same time, it's because they're so well known in terms of the look, it makes it very easy